So I actually have to collect myself. So, what I find really interesting is that, we called this series Tales of the Immigrant City. And what's so interesting about this movie is that it's really not just about the family. All around them, there are stories. I mean, tiny little stories about the dramas that people are going through. And as you pointed out at the beginning, New York is both a challenge as well as this incredible promise. And yet the way that people move through it is so susceptible to, all the things, the immediate circumstances of their lives. I'm just wondering if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you all for remaining, and thank you for appreciating the film. Look, the shortest distance between us, all of us here tonight, is a story. You go through a city like this, which can be at once the most intimate and then the most sort of the loneliest place. And we're going through a time now, especially for our young people, whether it be yourselves or your kids or your grandkids, that have gone through an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And it does seem to me that the one place where we can find some sort of commonality is not through opinions, but through stories, like those small, intimate, like messy stories. I said earlier about we're living in this time which is diseased with certainty, and we're addicted to the absolute. But it's in films and filmmaking where we find that sort of messy beauty that goes on, where not everything is absolute. And this is what's interesting to me about rewatching, this film. Also being part of a community, right? And also, let me ask you, you're part of your project is to sort of help stabilize and rebuild and grow your community through cinema and storytelling. So how do you feel about storytelling?
I mean, it's at the center of my life, but I'm just a huge believer. I know it's a cliche at this point, and I say it way too often, but Roger Ebert once said that movies are empathy machines. Boy, this one really takes the cake. I just believe, and you painted a really great picture of the world that we're in right now and the challenges that we're going through. I just think that the cure is to get people into a room together to experience things like this, and then to be able to talk about them, feel it. I mean, it's a different thing to be among other people experiencing the emotions that you feel at a movie, as opposed to sitting and watching it on Netflix, which is a very lonely kind of situation. And I think that part of the disease that is infecting all of our politics and all of our interpersonal relationships is the fact that people are not used to being with each other anymore or communicating in that kind of way. I don't know if that's where you were going with this, but that's
absolutely,
that's precisely what the reason why I'm so committed to creating community theaters in general, and of course the one that we're trying to create.
So the way I'd like for you to think about it is that we are inhabiting these canals of certainty, and a canal being a man-made or a human-made thing that goes from one place to the next. It's not a river, and these canals are getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and they're carrying these ideas from one port to another port because they've been told to go there. But facts are mercenary things, and to me, so you have these canals going in different directions, but what happens in the floodplain between these canals of certainty is where the interesting stuff happens to be. Now, can I tell you that watching this film, I came here in 1986, right? And this is a film that takes place more or less around the same time. Ireland was a different place. And we came here a lot of my class came here. A lot of my predecessors, generations before me, came here. You would go in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s from Ireland, and you would never return. You would have an American wake. You would be at your own wake before you left, because you were never going to come back. But when I left, it was beginning to change. But things were still really rough in the Dublin that I left. There was a massive heroin epidemic, there was poverty, there were all these things. The Ireland that you have now is different. And one of the things that I think that this film can teach us is that we have to allow these, we have to allow people into our lives, not force things. I'm not going to get political here, but I think you can know what I mean. We don't need to force things on people. But if we can allow things to happen within us, it becomes so much a better place. My wife Alison is here tonight. Right? She teaches in PS 87, just down the street. Yeah. And she teaches kindergarten through 5th grade, kids who have come in from other countries. A lot of those kids over the years came through the Darien Gap. And that is in danger right now. That sort of dream of America, which Jim Sheridan captures so well, almost nostalgically now, is still a powerful thing for people all around the world. And I think if we can acknowledge that and look at it, and I love the fact that you're doing all these immigrant stories. I mean, I'm an immigrant, but I think in certain ways we're all immigrants. And then when you come to another person's story, I wonder, is it pushing it too much to ask you if you are an immigrant into somebody else's life? If that distance between two people, which is two stories, is actually the most important psychological distance that you can have in your life. And can we reach one another in a time when we feel so connected and disconnected at the exact same time?
I mean, not to get like way more pedestrian here, but you know Jim Sheridan, right? Yeah. I mean, this is semi-autobiographical.
Yeah. I mean, the family comes from. They're coming in through Canada. You saw it at the start. So Jim, this is a semi-autobiographical, take on his life. It's that sort of hybrid thing between fiction, non-fiction, and he's taken all the emotion and sort of parlayed all the emotion into images. And he wrote it with his two daughters, and it was done, as we say, in the early 2000s, after the success of those big films. And this got nominated for several Academy Awards, Samantha, and the Best Adapted Screenplay, or Best Screenplay maybe?
Best Original, yeah.
But Jim has always sort of been at the edge of things, like pushing the edge of things. And as I said earlier tonight, what was interesting to me was that, he was pushing sentiment right up to the very, very edge. Somehow, now you may disagree with me, but somehow I feel that the film never actually took the wave over into sentimentality. Somehow held that tension, which is interesting to me. And also, come on, what about those young actors? I mean, seriously. But you could feel him drawing that stuff out, and then Paddy Considine and Samantha. I mean, all of the acting was done, and there was also the use of the camcorder, right, as that other device.
Very, very 80s.
Very 80s, and the voiceover. But I still when I look back on it and see it again, to me. It becomes more powerful, and I think, how does a piece of art then sit in its time, and then how does it sit 20 years after its time? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've noticed perhaps more as I get older is that every movie I watch is a time capsule. It's like, you know, I'm looking at the background sometimes. I mean, in a bad movie, I'm looking only at the background. But, you know, even the worst movies, if they're, you know, from a certain era, you're actually literally seeing photographs of well, as a recent filmmaker said, you know, shadows of dead people. It's like, you know, yeah.
So what's interesting to me is, look, I'm a novelist, and I can go home and I can go away for a year or 2 years or 5 years and create a world, and that's great. But I think one of the hardest things to do is to actually make a really good film, because not only do you have the writer, not only do you have the directors and the producers and the sparks and all of these, and the actors and all these things, but you have the, you know, the huge push down influence of money, and you have the market pulling at you in several different directions. And it's a miracle to me when a good book gets written, but it's really a miracle when a good film gets made. And that's why, you know, when something does come along and sort of like, you know, is different, it's impressive to watch. And so I imagine someone like Jim Sheridan, and now some of you might know Jim Sheridan. Jim's from Dublin, right? He's a real dub, he's brilliant, but he can really engage. But he is ultimately, he's a conductor, and he knows it. It's not his film, but he's the conductor, and he's saying, go cello, go piano, go, okay, rise up here now, and pulling all these different elements together to make a music. And then the reason that's interesting to me is, how do we then apply it to a community, right? So you're doing this amazing thing with cinema, right? And there are people within a community who can conduct things, and there are people who play the cello, and there are people who play the violin, but then there are also people who pay the money, you know, or donate, or do the footwork for all of these things. It's a miracle that you have a good community that can come together. The problem, and I hate to be a downer, the problem is that we don't have a lot of symphonic intent right now.
Fair enough. I mean, it's pretty accurate.
But then the question is, how do you do it? And it's not you who knows, or me who knows, but you actually who know. And I do think that all of this stuff comes from underneath. And if you can do it in a profound way, then you can make the film that your children see and your grandchildren see and all that sort of stuff. That may be like sort of, you know, highfalutin, up in the air sort of stuff, but ultimately I think it's true. You know, you want to have a good community, then you interact with one another, and then you do these things, then you tell stories to one another.
All right, well, we can't be here all night as much as I'd like to, so Colum, thank you so much for being here.